What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. I've been an enthusiast now for about 11 years. Ever since I was a young kid, I always loved roller coasters, playing Roller Coaster Tycoon games, and watching roller coaster videos on YouTube. I am currently 19 years old, and I remember being 8 years old in 2010 looking at roller coaster videos and looking up the studies behind roller coasters. Ever since then, I've been a major enthusiast, and I've gone to theme parks all across the eastern coast of the United States. And today, I want to talk about what roller coaster opinions have changed, and the top 10 steel roller coasters of 2010 compared to the top 10 steel coasters of last year. I wanted to do this video because I wanted to see how, one, opinions changed, and two, what new roller coasters have come out that have been worthy of beating out the original spots in the 2010 poll. So I will be looking at a Mitch Hawker poll from 2010 and a theme park review poll from 2020. These are coasters voted on by people all across the world, so there will be coasters across the world on these lists. And I will first go through 2010 and then compare the two while looking at the 2020 results. This is Cedar Flags, and these are the best steel coasters in the world in 2010 and in 2020. Before I get into the video, I just want to let you all know that I have new merch out on my store. I will have the link in the description below so you can all look at it. There's some Cedar Flags related merch, and there's some other merch that isn't related to Cedar Flags, but is to the coaster community and roller coasters as a whole. So, if you don't buy, just give it a look and let me know what you think. And once again, thank you for all the recent support I've gotten. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button if you're enjoying my videos. And without further ado, let's get right into the rankings. If any of you guys remember 2010, it was definitely a very different time from now. A lot of technology and culture has changed, and the world as a whole has changed in such a short amount of time. Looking at that compared to 2020, there's been so much that has happened in 10 years that it's honestly hard to describe. In 2010, I was only 8 years old. Keep in mind, this was around the time that Mack Rides started with their modern trains, as well as a pre-RMC era. Keep in mind that in 2010, the two big manufacturers were B&M and Intamin. And according to a popular vote Mitch Hawker poll, these are the top 10 best steel roller coasters in the world as of 2010. Coming in at the number 10 spot, we have iSpeed at Mirabilandia in Italy. Made by Intamin in 2009, this was the second Intamin Blitz coaster to come out after Maverick at Cedar Point. A lot of people consider this Maverick's European brother or cousin. This is a pretty fast-paced roller coaster with multiple inversions and low-to-the-ground airtime moments and S-bends. This does look like an incredible ride. I have personally ridden Maverick at Cedar Point, and I do have to say, based off of the POVs I've seen and the feel of an Intamin Blitz, this looks like a standout attraction. It does only have one launch, but that doesn't keep this ride from being absolutely incredible and being loved back then in 2010 by popular vote enthusiasts. The number 9 spot was actually at the same exact park. This is also Mirabilandia, but Katoon, the B&M invert at the park, coming out in the year 2000. This is a bucket list roller coaster for me, and personally looks like one of the best B&M inverts on the planet. I could definitely see how this made a top 10 list back then, because it has a great combination of inversions and low-to-the-ground elements. There are corkscrews, loops, and of course a cobra roll. It definitely looks like the full package for a large-scale B&M invert. Coming in at the number 8 spot is the first American coaster on this list, or I guess the first coaster outside of Italy. It is Millennium Force at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. This has been ranked the number 1 roller coaster in the world multiple years by Amusement Today and other polls. This is such a popular roller coaster, and possibly one of the most iconic coasters out there. It's not the most intense or the most rapid fire, but it's a very fun experience with some good floater and ejector airtime, a phenomenal first drop right next to Lake Erie, and a beautiful long sprawling layout. From personal experience, Millennium Force is an incredible ride and personally makes my top 10. But anyway, getting into the next spot, at number 7 we have another Intamin, but in Europe this time. This is Goliath at Walibi, Holland. This looks like an incredible Intamin mega coaster with multiple airtime elements and low to the ground turns. This does look like an extremely fun ride. With the T-bar restraints, this looks like such an incredible layout from start to finish. In fact, now that it's 2021, It seems like not a lot of people talk about this layout anymore. I remember back in 2010 this was a much bigger deal, but there is another coaster on the other list that has probably overshadowed this coaster a lot. This is still a cult classic and has its personal following, but personally I don't see it in a lot of top 10 lists anymore. At number 6 we have Puritan at Der Sommerland. Now, don't knock me down in the comments if I mispronounce that, but anyway, Puritan is an Intamin Megalite. These were popular in the late 2000s, and it's a pretty compact layout. Think of like a Blitz coaster, but with a cable lift. You go down into a right-hand turn, leading right into an airtime hill, and the rest of the layout is a spaghetti bowl featuring many airtime moments, some twisted, some normal, some low to the ground, and some high up. It definitely packs one heck of a punch in a very little layout, and from what I've heard from enthusiasts, these give some pretty good ejector airtime. I know if I've personally ridden one of these, it would probably rank up in my top 10, just by how amazing these look. Coming in at the number 5 spot is Nemesis at Alton Towers. This looks like such an incredible B&M invert with an incredible setting into a hillside. Now, a lot of people like this ride for the intense layout, and other people love this ride for the setting it has. It's a very unconventional B&M invert, as most B&M inverts and most roller coasters as a whole start off with their tallest elements and work their way down. This ride, on its terrain setting, starts off with a corkscrew before a loop. It's a very unconventional layout, and I feel like that's one of the reasons it's ranked so high on many lists. It's very unique, and definitely a very unique experience compared to some other very popular B&M inverts. The number 4 spot, just missing the top 3, is funny enough another Intamin Megalite. It is Kawasemi at Tobu Zoo in Japan. Now, I definitely find this weird that this has nearly the same exact layout as Puritan, but it's a few spots higher. Maybe it was more forceful, maybe it provided a smoother layout, I'm not sure. But I do remember in 2010 these Megalites were a lot more popular than they are now. These were pretty fun rides, and basically everything I said about Puritan is what I could say about this ride. I've personally never ridden any of these Megalites, so I don't have a say, but looking at the POVs, they look just about the same. Taking the bronze for the third best steel coaster of 2010 according to the Mitch Hawker poll is Intimidator 305 at Kings Dominion in Virginia. Now, a lot of people say this is the most intense roller coaster they've ever ridden, and as someone who's ridden this, when it comes to positive G's and whip, this is a machine. Starting off with that first right-hand turn, it was admitted by Werner Stengel himself that these were inspired off of the smaller Megalites that were mentioned earlier, and you could easily tell. It starts off with a much more intense right-hand turn, leading into an airtime moment, and the rest of the ride is filled with some incredible low-to-the-ground snappy elements. It has a few more airtime moments throughout the ride, but the real star of this ride are the positive elements. Very low to the ground, the whip is insane, and many people say they have grayed out or even blacked out on this ride due to blood loss of the insane positive Gs. Many GP don't even like this ride due to its high intensity, but us enthusiasts can't get enough of it. Personally, I'm extremely surprised this ride made the list. This came out the year that this poll was made. I remember this ride coming out, and many enthusiasts raving about it. It's crazy that it made the list so early and other rides didn't that I'll mention later. But anyway, what an accomplishment that this ride has. Seriously, such an incredible roller coaster. I could see how it made it so high on this list. At the number 2 spot, we have Expedition GeForce at Holiday Park in Germany. This is looking like one of the craziest roller coasters on the planet. Some extremely tall and high up ejector moments, filled with some pretty low to the ground helix moments. This seriously looks like one of the best rides on the planet. People have said that the airtime, followed with the positive Gs, makes this one of the best coasters in the world. It definitely looks like one of the most well-rounded coasters on Earth, that's for sure. And finally, at the number 1 spot for 2010's Mitch Hawker Steel Coaster poll, it is the one and the only Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. At the time, it was known as Bizarro, it was purple, and it was, well, more loved, to say it frankly. I'm really not sure why this ride lost a lot of popularity, because in 2010, it had the same restraints that it does now. Anyway, this is like the 4th Intamin in a row on this list. The top 4 on this list are contained completely of Intamins, and rightfully so. This roller coaster looks like it absolutely rocks. I've talked to people that say this is still their number one roller coaster of all time, over coasters like Steel Vengeance, Skyrush, and Lightning Rod, and rightfully so. There are so many great airtime moments on this ride from the looks of it, and even though I haven't ridden it, this is one of my highest bucket list coasters on Earth. It has some crazy ejector moments, and honestly looks like a longer, better version of Expedition GeForce, which was once again the silver spot. Remember what I said about B&M and Intamin absolutely dominating the industry back then? Yeah, they took up the whole top 10, and there were only 2 B&Ms compared to 8 Intamins, which could further prove that Intamin was truly the king manufacturer back then. But let's time travel to 2020, a year after RMC blew up, a year after Mach blew up, a year after all of these other manufacturers had a time to shine. 10 years later, it's easy to say a lot has changed in both the coaster industry and the world as a whole. Even though it is 2021, there have been no major polls that have come out yet, so I'm going to base it off of 2020. Let's get on to the list right now. At the number 10 spot, we have Helix at Liseberg. The 2014 Mach multi-launch coaster definitely looks phenomenal. This is the first Mach to make the list, and overall the first, I guess you could say, non-Intamin or B&M that we've talked about in this whole video. This looks like such an incredible ride, and even though I haven't even been overseas to ride this looks like a very stunning ride. Now, I've heard a lot of people say it is definitely a lot less forceful than rides like Maverick or iSpeed, but it still looks like a great ride within its own. These Mach roller coasters definitely have different feels to Intamins, but they still stand out on their own. A lot of people say that Helix is their favorite coaster of all time, and with the setting combined with the long layout, I could see why. This looks like a great element that combines airtime moments with inversions, and might honestly be one of the most impressive coasters ever built. The number 9 spot belongs to Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. This is the first RMC to take the list, and definitely not the last. This dueling Mobius Loop RMC provides a lot of great airtime moments within what once was 2 roller coasters. It starts off with a green section with a lift hill, and leads you down into multiple airtime moments and elements, and then takes you up another lift hill right next to your first, and you complete the layout. It's a very unique layout, especially with modern day standards, and is a practice that Six Flags absolutely loves to do. When it comes to opinions I've personally heard, I've heard that it's not one of some people's favorite RMCs, and then some people absolutely rank it over any other RMC. Some people think this is the best ride in the state of California as well. This is definitely a very praised roller coaster depending on who you talk to. At the number 8 spot, we have DC Rivals Hypercoaster at Warner Bros. Movie World in Australia. Once again, another phenomenal airtime machine. This looks very unique, with a backward section in the back row, and multiple very unique elements to a Mach roller coaster, like a non-inverting vertical loop. This looks like such an incredible ride with a very diverse layout, and like Helix, but if it were a hypercoaster. The airtime looks pretty intense, especially for a Mach, and from what I've heard, that back row first drop is definitely one of the best moments of any roller coaster on Earth. It's a very phenomenal ride, and some people would even consider this their favorite coaster in the entire world. At the number 7 spot, a personal favorite of mine, Twisted Timbers at Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. And we're not even in the top 5 yet, and you could already tell that RMC is going to absolutely dominate this list. RMC came out in 2011, a year after the poll, and the Iron Horse conversions have been strong ever since. Starting with New Texas Giant, which was an absolutely dominant coaster at the time. There have been so many coasters ever since that have been outdoing each other, and enthusiasts crave RMC airtime more than almost anything. Twisted Timbers is no exception. Once again, this is in my top 3. I absolutely adore this thing to death, and I really want to get back to Kings Dominion to ride this. This ride has some of the most insane airtime moments on any coaster ever. Those 3 camelbacks right after each other give some of the most insane thigh-crushing airtime you'll ever experience. This ride will throw you every which way in every direction possible without having time to slow down. And then, once you're at the final brake run, you are begging for another ride on this airtime connoisseur. At number 6, another RMC. This time we're going down to Mexico City to Six Flags Mexico, talking about Medusa Steel Coaster. This is a conversion of the old CCI Woody Medusa, and many people say this is their personal favorite RMC iBox. This looks like such an incredible ride, and looks very fast-paced compared to the other RMCs. I personally love this layout. This layout looks absolutely incredible. Those airtime moments, those inversions, everything on this ride looks so unique. It had the first downward barrel drop, whatever you want to call it, on an RMC, and ever since then they have been thriving with this element. And even though that it might look a little slower compared to the other rides, just look at what other people have said about this ride. People say it has some of the most intense ejector on any ride ever, and is one of the great roller coasters of all time. At number 5, we have a roller coaster that already existed during the 2010 poll but did not make it. Now this is the only coaster that actually moved up that existed beforehand. This opened up in 2007 as the first Intamin Blitz at Cedar Point, and is a very loved roller coaster. And from personal experience, riding this thing feels like the full experience. From that extremely forceful first drop, to the amazing inversions, to the second launch that catapults you out of a tunnel, to the Stangle dives. Man, I really want to get back on this thing. This ride is the complete experience, and I have friends who rank this as their number 1 ride overall. This ride actually went up a few spots ever since 2010's poll, which didn't even make the top 10, but placed at number 13. It's nice to see that even though this coaster is older, it's getting some newfound love, as it should. I mean, it's an insane ride. At the number 4 spot, we have another pre-existing roller coaster, this time moving down 2 spots from what it used to rank as the number 2 roller coaster of 2010. It is now the number 4 steel coaster of 2010, Expedition G-Force. Everything I said about this coaster once again applies to now. Still in 2020, it holds up to other airtime machines. Even though it was made 20 years ago, it still shines as one of the great airtime machines on Earth, and is still a ride that people will travel all the way around the world just to get on. This ride is the very definition of longevity, and it still holds up to be one of the best rides on the planet. At the number 3 spot, we have another Intamin, but this time a new Intamin, at least from 2012 standards. This is Skyrush at Hershey Park, one of the most insane airtime machines ever to exist. From personal experience, I could say that this ride tries to rip your head off of your body. The first drop has 2 airtime moments, weird enough. One of them is a pretty nice airtime moment, and then halfway through the drop there is this massive bump that completely flings you out of your seat. It's probably the most intense airtime moment I've ever experienced on my life. Yes, the rest of the layout too provides some great ejector airtime that tries to fling you to the moon. You have these 2 very tall speed hills, and then after that is the rest of the layout where it flies across the lake into a Stangle dive, an off-axis airtime hill which really catches you off guard, and one massive airtime moment to finish off the ride. All of these airtime moments provide some insane intensity, and it is once again Intamin which reigns at the top 3 spot on this list. But is it the last Intamin? Yes, because 2 and 1 are from a completely new manufacturer that didn't even exist back then. It is Rocky Mountain Construction, and with number 2, we have Cedar Point's very own Steel Vengeance. This is my all-time favorite roller coaster that I've personally been on. Actually, right next to Maverick, this ride provides some of the craziest variety of airtime on Earth. If you want airtime and you're a fan of airtime, this is the ride for you. It has airtime moments of every kind. Ejector, floater, sideways, upside down. It flings you in every direction possible, and you will be flying every which way from the first drop all the way to the brake run 80 seconds after. A lot of rides lose pacing, and you could easily tell by some of these rides. But even a minute into this ride is still hauling. And that's because of the beautiful imagery of this ride going in and out of the structure. This ride has near misses, airtime, positive G's, incredible inversions, and is everything I could personally ask for in a roller coaster. But there is a ride that beats it. It is over in the Netherlands, another RMC. This is Untamed at Walibi Holland. According to Theme Park Review and the voters of the poll, this is the holy grail of steel roller coasters on the planet. This is another RMC roller coaster, an RMC conversion of an old Woody called Robin Hood, and I guess from their perspective, I could see why this could be better than a ride like Steel Vengeance. It is definitely more well-rounded. It has very unique inversions, including a Heartline roll, and I guess a double 270-degree inverting stall. Yeah, it's a very unique element. The rest of the elements are extremely unique, even to RMC standards, and if you want to talk about an innovative roller coaster that's incorporated some new airtime moments, this is it. This definitely looks like one of the great airtime machines out there, and I could see how some people could rank this as the #1 steel coaster in the world. This list, a little more diverse, has 5 RMCs, 2 Machs, and 3 Intamin roller coasters. We do not see a single B&M coaster in the top 10, but we do see new Mach roller coasters. Now, this is a phenomenal list, and even though I might not agree with absolutely everything, I could still tell how these are people's opinions, and these were actually popular votes. Robin Hood, also known as Untamed, happened to be the most liked roller coaster. So what do you think about this list? What is your favorite roller coaster of all time? What was your favorite coaster back then? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.